wanna get away, but I could use some company. If you're alone like me.
Hi, I am Caroline, the HR Director for Soho Medical Doctors.
Hi, I'm Falana, one of the HR generalists for SohoMD.
And today is another episode of More Than HR Mondays. Falana, what are we talking about today?
We're talking about company culture, just so important. We want to belong. We want to feel comfortable. We want to feel like the place where we work is our second home. So I know you did some research in reading the Harvard Business Review website, and then you got like about 5 key points to setting up a winning company culture. Could you share some of those points and how you feel like they relate to Soho's culture?
Yeah, absolutely. So, according to the Harvard Business Review, they talked about 5 key steps. So that's perform a culture, an audit, and set new expectation. That is number 1. What I mean by that, it's really about, performing an audit, culture audit. You can use your employee surveys, right? So HR members conduct employee surveys yearly. They can also do it quarterly, almost like a check-in, seeing where everybody is. But you also have what we have like in SohoMD, exit interviews, where I like to ask about the culture. What was SohoMD's culture? I also like to conduct the stay interviews to understanding, well, why are people staying? So those are ways how SohoMD kind of connects that number 1, 5 key step in aligning and creating a culture. The second one is align the team. Now, that is really about your managers, your supervisors, your directors. If they don't know the culture, if they don't know the core values of the company, you're in trouble, right? So you want to make sure that your company managers, directors, supervisors, all are aligning themselves to understanding what is the core values, the mission of your company. For SohoMD, that is clarity, that is peace, that is dreams, and that is community. That is what it is for us. The third one is to focus on results and build accountability. Now, one would say, Caroline, how do we do that? Well, we have what you call a performance management process. Most folks, HR folks, call it the PMP, or some other folks call it something else, but it all means the same. It is checking in quarterly with your employees and making sure the objectives, the yearly objectives, are aligning with the targets and with what their work means to them, right? So kind of dissecting that. So if you need to have a certain amount of growth, let's say from hiring a certain amount of providers, or an overall revenue of like a number, right? Like let's say it's $50 million, right? How do you align in each department to get to that goal? What do you need to do? What are the capabilities, the competencies that you need to have for each individual? And why is that meaningful for them? So you create a partner's objective first, and then you ensure that your admin team looks at that partner's objective. They kind of differentiate, okay, what does that mean for this department? What does that mean for this department? And then they bring that back to their employees, the members that they're supervising and managing. And then they have those discussions, that dialogue on a quarterly basis. It sounds like a lot, and it is, but it's really cool. And I like to say our supervisors and managers are our mentors and coaches. You are mentoring someone, you're coaching them, because in that discussion, you're not just talking about their professional goals, you're talking about their personal goals, because you want people in your company to align themselves personally to the target and the mission of the company.
Yeah, absolutely. And that completely relates back to our core values, which I think is great that we've all seen it. It's all been sent to our emails multiple times. We've seen it on the internet, but it's important that it gets reiterated, that you feel connected to the company that you work with, that you feel connected to what the goals are. And like that's coming up in the performance evaluations and different things like that. I think that's very important.
Absolutely. The fourth one is to manage the drivers of the culture. So, what do I really mean about managing some of the drivers of the culture? Like understanding the concepts of what it is that you need to have to create a culture, right? There were certain disciplines that you needed to have, certain organizational structures that you needed to have, decision making, policy procedures, that all aligns to managing the drivers of the culture. Because if you set up a system where there's proper management and disciplines in there and measures to actually, well, measures to measure it, right? Like actually taking the steps to actually measure someone's behavior and their capabilities and their skill sets, then you can ensure that you're actually managing your culture properly. And then the last one, which I like at the end, is number 5, communicate and celebrate. Oh, I love to celebrate. Oh, I love to communicate. Why? Because we're in this together. This is an open dialogue, open discussion, open policy for us to learn from each other. All walks of life, coming from all different countries and traditions. We are learning, but most importantly, we are celebrating. So I like to say this is the part where you reinforce the good behaviors, right? You're either looking at members that are accelerating and promoting them within. You're also looking at creating employee engagement. So making sure that you have, parties and get-togethers. You're creating platforms where your employees are going through, like, working out and taking care of themselves. That all is a celebration and a unity of community that you need to have within your institution to make sure that the culture is open. For us, part of the culture that we've heard as a feedback from a lot of people was that we're flexible, right? Creating, work that is flexible, the ability to work from home, the ability to work in the office, almost like a hybrid. I've also heard that we are innovative and creative. That is part of it. I think that's also why Dr. J and Dr. Ratush created that core value as dreams. So part of that is the creativity and aligning the innovation. And I've also heard that we're very supportive. And that's absolutely true. We're open door policy. You can go to any person in our pool of employees, supervisors, managers, directors, and ask them any questions. And they're super open. And that goes personally and also professionally.
Yes, definitely. And I think it's also cool how all of our videos seem to like link up together, because that sort of open policy of communication lends itself to being an environment where we're hopefully combating some loneliness from employees having to work remotely and not really being able to see each other on a day-to-day basis. Just having those open communications, those town halls that we have, where that's another place for our founders to reiterate their goals. That is so important to building this culture that we have. I think that that's an awesome part of our culture for sure. Just being able to talk to each other, to know that you're not the only one that feels this way, or you're not the only one that's a little bit stressed today, but it's going to get better because we're a team and we're working together toward a common goal. Reminding yourself of what you're working towards, so it's not just like an empty sort of,
yeah,
I'm working today. Yeah.
And that's where the check-ins come into your performance management process. That's where those check-ins come in, because, you're working from home and, maybe you're not checking in as often in your GChat messages or looking at, the welcome to SohoMD or the birthday celebrations. But your manager is going to check in with you. So even if you're not doing that check-in on your own, that on a quarterly basis, you have a designated time and date where you're going to check in with your manager and see how you're doing. And I love that. A lot more companies need to do that. I don't care how big the company is. You need to check in with your people. I really want to stress that with SohoMD's growth and all of the stuff that we're doing, it's just really unique that we still do those check-ins, and not everybody likes that. And if that doesn't work out for you, That's okay, you know, but we do it because we really do care. And part of those check-ins, like for our company, which is really cool, is that, you know, for our providers, our nurse practitioners, our doctors, our therapists, now because of checking in with them, hearing their feedback, getting that information through town halls, through exit interviews, through stay interviews, through all of that, we were able now to launch our CME CEU continuum education platform, where we're going to be paying for our providers to utilize those platforms. And we wouldn't have done that if we didn't create a culture where they were sharing that information of what they needed, right? So just looping all that together, you do it to create this type of culture. You do it so that you understand what people want. You know, it's the employees that run the companies, you know, founding partners, and we love them. You know, they had the vision, but the overall people that run the companies, whether you want to believe it or not, is the employees. It is us, you know. And I just wanted to share that with everyone, not just our HR members, but with everyone through our LinkedIn, our YouTube connections, that your employees are the people that are the company. And you need to align yourself in understanding what their capabilities, their competencies, their drivers, their aspirations, their purpose, their missions are, and align that with your company.
Yes, absolutely. They're the ones with the ideas, all these new ideas to,
Absolutely.
moving forward.
Well, happy Monday, everybody. Falana, it's always a pleasure. And thank you so much, everyone. Cheers.
Thank you, everyone. Bye.
Bye.
I wanna get away, but I could use some company. If you're alone like me,